Want to build a website about aliens or your time machine from me to WebDrift? Use the promo code DRIFTER1 when registering your domain name at GoDaddy.com and receive 10% off your order. Okay then, see you soon in the underground bunker where you're hiding from the snake people. Thanks, GoDaddy.com.
There is a man who can see what we cannot. A man who strives to communicate with that which most terrifies us. Ghost hunter Loyd Auerbach from the Paranormal Network at mindreader.com is a dark, foreboding, powerful man who looks a hell of a lot scarier on his website than he does in person. Let's WebDrift.
Ready.
Loyd Auerbach. Ghost hunting. Is it a glamorous profession?
It's not really much of a profession. It's more of an avocation or part of a profession. When you study the paranormal, study psychic phenomena, ghost hunting is a part of that.
And you say ghost hunting. Is ghosts an overarching term for things like apparitions, ghouls, goblins? How do you define it?
Well, first of all, we actually don't hunt ghosts. We might say we investigate cases, we look for situations in which people have experiences of a certain type of paranormal or psychic category. In fact, ghost is a term that is used to kind of cover a couple different things. For us in parapsychology, you could probably pin it down best to the traditional idea that people have in movies and TV and folklore, which is somebody's died and they're sticking around. People are seeing them, they're hearing them, they're feeling them, but it is someone, whether you want to call it spirit or soul consciousness, it's something, some part of us that's survived.
So just level with me here. Is this all bullshit? I mean, do ghosts really exist?
Well, first of all, if you want to go by experiences, people absolutely have sincere, real experiences. If you want to go by the evidence, yes, they do. So we have really good evidence based on people's experiences, on veridical information, verifiable information people have from multiple witnesses across the board, that some of these cases are as good without the forensic evidence as a criminal case that has gone to trial and the person's been found guilty.
Yeah, but this is just people's experiences, and you can't always trust people, because people, in my experience, tend to be crazy. So how can you trust what people say, even if it's a group of people? Yeah, I saw a ghost. Well,
because they're coming up with information they didn't know, they couldn't possibly have known, that has to be verified later on through other sources. Sometimes in ghost cases, things do physically move, things actually do physically happen that is beyond just what could happen in somebody's mind. Today, we've been using environmental sensing equipment that can kind of bolster that experience that people have.
so there is a science element to this.
Well, it's all science. I mean, the understanding what's going on in people's experience is science. Using technology does not mean it's science. I mean, a chimp can use one of the meters that I use. They can get excited about the needles going back and forth, and perhaps some of the people who use them on television look that way too. It's making sense of what that reading is and comparing that to the experience, because none of these devices are designed to detect ghosts. They're designed to detect environmental changes. And we have these situations where there are weird environmental changes, unexplained, with people having the experiences at the same time.
What is the most accurate Hollywood interpretation of ghosts?
I think probably the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze falls into that, partly because the screenwriter did a lot of research and used appropriate sources. Now, there's a piece of that movie. In that movie, you had a guy who died. He wasn't being seen by anybody except by other ghosts, if you recall in that film. He was being heard, however, by Whoopi Goldberg, who turned out to be more psychic than she thought she was. He had to learn to move things. It wasn't an automatic thing, which is what we actually know from our cases, going back over 100 years. And then you had the bad guy ghosts, the murderers who got taken down by the shadow demons into the underworld. That part of it was based on more mythology, and that part of it was based on, it was really a literary license. We have no evidence that that actually happens, because the people who could tell us that it happens are gone.
You ever be ghost hunting and you just all of a sudden find yourself straddling Patrick Swayze at a potter's wheel?
No, in fact, I've never ever seen a potter's wheel in any of the cases I've been to.
The term boo, how did that go from a thing that a ghost says to now it meaning like your black lover?
I could not even, I don't know the etymology of that.
Well, what if I'm swimming and I get bit by a ghost shark?
Well, ghosts can't really hurt you. They can't really do anything. The most that could happen is the ghost shark could show up and you'd think it was a real shark, and that would be scary.
What if the ghost shark is a poltergeist and it throws an anchor at me?
The ghost shark would have to learn how to move the object, and sharks aren't smart enough to do that typically. Although if they get on land and they start knocking on your door and saying Candygram, that's a whole,
So I can see from this conversation right here that this really is a science.
From this conversation?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
We're really sort of puzzling all these deep questions.
You have to kind of wonder about some of the pop culture references from time to time.
Speaking of which, who is the most famous ghost in the world?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I don't know who the individual who's the most famous ghost in the world. There are places that have ghosts, like the Moss Beach Distillery locally has the Blue Lady. It's fairly famous because of the media coverage. There is Resurrection Mary, a woman who's a ghostly hitchhiker in Chicago that's fairly famous. And there are occasional...
She's a hitchhiking ghost?
She's a hitchhiking ghost. Now, that's kind of an old story. It's been on the Twilight Zone and many other places too. It's an urban legend that there are these female ghosts out there that hitchhike, and then they disappear in your car.
You know what I think that is? That's like when women catch their husbands picking up a whore in Chicago. They're like, no, it wasn't. I didn't have a whore in my car. It was Hitchhiking Mary.
Could be, except that this one has been picked up by women as well, and always dropped off at the same cemetery.
Lesbian people?
Possibly.
There you go. I think probably the most famous ghost would be Larry King. I have it on good authority. He died in 1983.
Does that make him a ghost or a zombie?
I suppose it would be a zombie. What's the most haunted place in America?
Now that is a subject of debate for everybody. There are claims of the most haunted towns, there are claims of the most haunted cities. I think that the most haunted places would be places that have the greatest concentration in one location. So for example, Savannah, Georgia is extremely haunted because there are a lot of places that report stories in a very small area.
But I would have thought, by the way, that the most haunted place in America is Paula Abdul's head. Well, are there ghosts here?
In this building, is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, the building that that the school HCH Institute is in has had reports by folks who work here and also some students of a female presence.
Do ghosts fuck?
Is there sex after death? If there is, it's all in their heads.
Well, if you're not getting any in the here and now, I'm probably not going to get any when I'm dead.
Yeah. Well, it does kind of raise issues about that question. Have you ever been slimed?
Have you?
Not by a ghost.
When you come back as a ghost, where are you going to haunt? Where do you want to go? If you could haunt anywhere in the world.
Well, I'm going to visit a lot of places I've never been to, so it'll depend on where I haven't been in my life. But I probably will want to go to a couple laboratories and haunt as much as I possibly can there to give them some evidence. So I want to cooperate a little bit.
Looking at you, man, I think you're probably going to be doing a lot of haunting at a Hooters.
No. If the Playboy Club was around, I still might be doing that. So maybe the Playboy Mansion.
Come on, be honest here. How many times have you seen Ghostbusters?
Not as many times as Star Wars, but probably several dozen times.
You're a big nerd. Let's go ghost hunting.
Everywhere in this building, people have reported over the years feeling this presence. It's mainly really downstairs all the way, but people have actually reported in other parts of the building. And you can see actually a slight registration from that. I put it near the TV camera.
I don't know if those might be the ghosts of these bugs that are actually dead.
Pretty much.
There. Picking anything up yet, Loyd?
Nothing out of the ordinary. You know what? I am getting a reading here.
We got a reading.
So I'm getting a fairly high reading here, for higher than background, I should say. When I talk about high readings, we look for the change. So if generally the building has nothing, and you get just a slight reading above that in certain spots, there are two things to look for. Possible electrical leakage, which causes the wiring and such, and the other is possible paranormal activity.
Do you see dead people, Loyd?
I've only seen a couple dead people, and they've been actually, their bodies.
I would rather see ghosts than that creepy Hallie Joel Osment skulking around my house any day. Look, we might have something.
We might have something. In fact, it's fluctuating quite a bit, which is unusual.
What does that mean if it's fluctuating?
Well, it means either, if it was a fairly regular pulse, it would mean that it could be an electrical system that's actually flaring up every now and then. Now, what's interesting is I'm not getting a reading on the natural meter to speak of. But that's not that unusual. But typically when we have activity, actual activity, we usually get both devices going on. In this case, this is a fairly high reading.
So we're only getting like half.
Well, one of the things that
Maybe it's a bisexual ghost.
Well, it could also be more of the place itself kind of having a field. Here in this general area here.
Maybe somebody had too much to drink, fell down right here, bam, hit their head on the edge of the table. Blood everywhere. And the person who owns this place, because they didn't want maybe someone who works here, Loyd, just hid the body in a dumpster out back. What do you think, Loyd?
I think that if you're trying to play psychic, that would be a pretty good
I'm not trying to play psychic,
monologue,
I'm trying to play cop.
I see.
I think that you did it, Loyd. Loyd Auerbach with the whiskey bottle in this room. Look. The lampshade.
It's moving.
What do you think?
I think somebody knocked it because I saw him.
Loyd, you're no fun. This is why you've never seen a ghost. Dude, how bad do you want to see a ghost? Come on. You want to see a ghost so fucking bad.
I have actually seen things move. I have in a number of instances. So I've seen physical stuff happening.
Like a lampshade moving.
Like a lamp, like a chandelier start and stop swinging on its own. Like a glass moving across a bar. Like an ashtray popping up off behind a bar and slamming itself back down. Things like that. That's what I've seen moving. And I've seen that with other witnesses at the same time we've seen it. So very physical things. So the fact that I haven't seen a ghost, I'm a little perturbed. But I think that since it's a psychic functioning, it's the way we perceive things, the way we process this internally. I just don't process it very, very visually. I'm a very visual person. I read a lot of comic books. I watch a lot of TV and movies. So to me, I think my mind is giving me the other stuff, the feelings, the smell, the hearing sometimes.
All right, Loyd. Well, I really enjoyed ghost hunting with you, but I think I'm going to go hunt some ladies now.
Okay. Well, sometimes I have ladies in my classes. You should come back and take some of the parapsychology classes.
Yeah? I'd actually rather meet some of the ladies in the hypnotherapy classes here, and when they go under, that's when I move in.
It's too bad that there are some ethical constraints here.
Well, good thing there's not at the bar I'm going to.
Yeah, okay. Lots of spirits there too, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Loyd. See ya.
Okay.
Ooh. 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 Ooh.
Oh, it's you.
Loyd, these things are so freaking spicy, man. These flaming hot Cheetos.
Possibly from hell?
Whoa. Whoa. We're going.
No thanks.
Whoa. Whoa.